After 2 weeks of struggling with this prompt, today, finally, I am delivering and I have pics and I'm super excited about them. Hello friends, I feel like I'm officially have returned from my hiatus. I know that I did do my manga news video earlier this week, but I felt like that was the norm, I guess, and so I felt like I really was taking a hiatus from content creation, and honestly what sort of led to me deciding to take my break is because I was coming up blank for today's prompt of what are my favorite tropes. I guess I don't think about this when I'm reading, like I know what they are when I see them, but thinking about them off the top of my head, I'm like, it's that thing, whatever that thing is. And so I was like, you know what? I was like, if I can't come up with any ideas right now, time for a break. My brain just needs to rest. Again, it was so very good. I'm very excited. I have my manga collection video coming up this Friday, so stay tuned for that. And today's gonna be really exciting. I am very hyped for all of my picks that I have today, and a huge shout out to many different people who gave me ideas and suggestions, because I was like, what are some shoujo tropes that you love in manga? Because when I was looking on Google, I was like, yes, I know these are tropes, but none of them are considered my favorite. And so when I asked people for help, they came, they delivered, and now I have 5. I even have sort of like an honorable mention this week, which I haven't been doing quite as much because I just really struggle with some of these prompts of like, I don't know. So we've just sort of just been doing 5. But I digress, and we're gonna go ahead and jump right in. So you guys are probably not gonna be surprised from this first one. I was trying to think of exactly like what kind of trope it is. I really love delinquent manga, and that is more or less what I'm saying for one of my favorite tropes, though probably specifically the bad boy with the good girl kind of thing. And so of course I had to choose Glasses with a Chance of Delinquent. I only have the Japanese volumes, but remember this is coming out physically in English from 7 Seas starting this January. I'm very excited. So I don't feel like this is quite a bad boy slash good girl kind of story, but honestly my real love life, like my marriage with my husband, we live out that trope. He is an ex-delinquent, and there's many times I very much relate to Momo when our guy here is having his delinquent tendencies come out, because yeah, my husband has the same thing. So I really relate to Momo in that sense, but that is part of why I really love delinquent manga, because I often see myself in these heroines, and when they're interacting with these guys who are delinquents or ex-delinquents, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, I'm glad it's not just me. But I really do love the trope of bad boy and a good girl, because that was very much me. I was like the goody two-shoes, going to church and everything, and just that was literally my nickname of goody two-shoes, while my husband had just left his delinquent lifestyle and was trying to turn his life around, but was still really rough around the edges. Can be not brutal, but I'm blanking on the adjective would be, but he could be very rough around the corners or edges, and people were legit concerned for me when I started dating him. I'm like, no, he's a great guy, and not many people believed me that he was, but he's super sweet, super funny. So I say all of that because that is why I love reading delinquent manga or ex-delinquent manga. The better it is, where they have, the guy has this reputation of it being really bad and people speak really down upon them, and there's usually not very positive things, but then the girl sees those positive things in them and they're like, you know, maybe you're right a little bit, but there's much more to this guy than what you see. And typically that girl is around like really good people, I guess you would say, for the lack of a better word, where she's not in anything that could be considered illegal or rough around the edges, and everybody's just super kind and loving. Yes, I'm seated. I'm here for it. I will say though, the bad boy can't be like super bad. Like we don't do no abuse of any kind. Nope, I don't do that. That's not romantic in my opinion. Period. So there are some things I'm like, I won't cross that line for this kind of trope, but majority of the time, like this trope, it's feeding me. Like that is why I want more delinquent shoujo manga. Like please, anybody, like love that's an understatement. Yamaguchi-kun isn't so bad, though I think he's just more rough around the edges and would actually fit a different prompt that I have. But if we could get love that's an understatement, that would be amazing. It really would be. For number 2, I have really enjoyed this trope for a long time, but I do feel like it's really hard to find, but that is childhood friends to lovers. And for my example, of course I had to say Gazing at the Star Next Door. This manga is amazing. It is one of the 2 manga that if I could only give 2 recommendations, Gazing at the Star Next Door would be one of them, and of course Glasses would be the first one that I would give. I am loving the direction of where this is going, and I do believe I actually have a childhood friends to lovers prompt that I did many years ago for Top 5 Wednesday, so if you're interested in that, check that out, because I'm sure I would stand by everything in that video, but I didn't think about it until just now or go look what I have on there. But I really love this trope. I find it so much more satisfying than like enemies to lovers, because enemies, I feel like they really act like enemies and sometimes they can get really physical, and I'm just like, no, that is not romantic to me personally at all. At least what I have heard from like YA novels, and that's honestly a really large part of why I don't really read enemies to lovers. I'd rather have the angst from childhood friends to lovers, though maybe not the angst like in No Longer Heroine. That is an unhinged dumpster fire kind of angst. This one, what was her name? Chika or Chiaki? Yeah, and Subaru, they are so wonderful, and they really have, like, you see that they are childhood friends. And so I have loved everything I've seen about this manga. I have seen spoilers because I have one of the magazines that has a really big spoiler, but I'm so here for it. I wish I had more examples outside of No Longer Heroine, because that I feel like is not a good example of how beautiful and wonderful this trope can be. I know Kumomo Confisory is one that has that trope as well, though, what is his name? The guy can be a little bit borderline for me, but I really love the character development that he has in the manga, and it was very satisfying to see the end. But I'm blanking on any other examples, but I feel like Gazing at the Star Next Door is the #1 example for how wonderful this trope is and why I love it so much. So if you, Anyway, I'm Falling in Love with You would be another one, though that we haven't seen who the guy is that's gonna win at, at the very end. Love and Focus could have gone that direction, but did not go that direction. So maybe that would voice mine, sort of, maybe? It's complicated for that one. So yeah, I love this trope a lot. It's really good. If you have any like modern day recommendations, in the sense that video is pretty old, and I would love to know about newer shoujo that's ongoing that has this trope, because I can't get enough of it. Oh my goodness. For #3, I love this. I don't know formally what the name of this trope would be, so I'm just going to explain it. But it's in shoujo manga. I have 2 different examples, but sometimes like you'll see the leads, the couple, they're on a date, and let's say usually they're at a festival or something comes up. One of the leads, usually the hero, that is stuck with some random kid, just a kid in general. It could be a family member from like the girlfriend's family, and it ruins their date, so to speak, or they think it does. But when they're on this date, the female lead will make a comment or say something about how like they're seeing their, significant others with this child doing amazing, and they're gonna make a great father one day. That is one of my favorite tropes. I absolutely love it. And the latest volume that I've read that in is Daily Report About My Witch Senpai Volume 3. Oh my goodness. I was just looking at it right here. And she's like, if you became a dad, Misono-kun, I think you'd be just like you were today. And he did really, really well, basically. It was fun. You two were so cute. And I'm just like, I love that trope so much. It's also an imakoi when, oh my gosh, I forget I know Yagyu. What is the girl's name? Satomi. So Satomi and Yagyu, they go on a date. They go on the date. Satomi is like, I'm sorry, Yagyu, but like, I think it was her cousin or her nephew has to come. And basically they sort of see how they'll be when they're future parents. And both of them find it very endearing to the other person, because they're like, you would be a really great dad, or you would be a really great mom. I love that. It shows like a positive side to parenthood, I guess you would say. I mean, parenthood is definitely like full of ups and downs, but I love seeing just like that they're not like, oh, he's gonna be a horrible dad, and that they'd be afraid to have kids with that person. No, they're just seeing them like, man, they would be a great father, or they would be a great mother. I love that trope so much. It's so beautiful and so precious. Right now, off the top of my head, I only know these 2 series that both have that kind of moment that I squealed, swooned, and just felt so very happy reading it, because it was just so special and very magical and very sparkly. And I'm sure there's other series, but that definitely stood out to me, and I love it so much. It's just a very heartfelt and beautiful moment between the leads. For #3, I wanted to say the power of friendship, which I know could sound a little bit cliche, and I actually have 3 different examples that I feel like fit this, but I feel like the #1 that really shows the power of friendship is The Secret of Friendship, which is a standalone. I do have a review up on this channel. I reviewed it last December. So good. I have reread this like 3 or 4 times. I think this is like one of the best manga I've ever read, and really showing the power of friendship, where these 2 girls deeply care and love for each other, and how the popular girl, whose name is Mo, she is like, if you date me, you gotta date my best friend Echo and treat her better than you would treat me, kind of thing. I really love seeing that unfold in this series, and not just that one. In not standalone, excuse me, but also Let Me Not is another really great one showing the power of friendship between these two girls. The way, again, they love and they care for each other and they come to each other and grow. It is so beautiful and so satisfied, and I really love that trope. And if we want to talk about in a shonen setting, specifically sports, Haikyuu, I mean, if we look at the latest Haikyuu movie that came out, without going into spoilers, yes, one of the teams won, but ultimately at the end of the day, at the end of the film, what you're celebrating is not that one of the certain teams won. You're celebrating the fact that a character makes a very bold and awesome statement of how they feel about volleyball. That was the biggest takeaway. Again, it was not who won it. It's ultimately, it's the friendships that Hinata made along the way with all of these amazing guys and a few ladies as well in this series. I love it. I love it. I mean, it is so very good. And again, it makes it like such a cliche kind of trope, but the way that trope is written, at least in these three stories, is perfection. I can't get enough of it. And I think that's why I also really enjoy seeing shonen anime rather than reading it, even though it would be the same with the same tropes and whatnot, is it's just really exciting to see it anime and seeing, like in One Piece, you probably could say Demon Slayer, but One Piece is one of the first ones that came to mind of just how friendship impacts and changes people's lives, especially when it comes to the main character. It is a trope I will never get bored of, and I think it's really awesome that a lot of shonen manga actually have that staple, but it was exciting to find two different shoujo that I feel like also live out this trope in a very beautiful, compelling way that just makes you want to keep reading and just makes you thankful for your friends that really care for you and love you. It is It's so good. I love it so very much. For number 5, okay, so shout out to my friend Mel on Instagram who actually mentioned this because, and I've talked about it with my friend Danielle actually, but it didn't come to mind of what the term was, and I don't know how to say the term, but you know how we have like tundras and was it yanderies and whatnot? There is a certain one. There's a certain one. It's a certain trope. I love it so very much. So I definitely love my happy, really excited, you know, leads like Hinata from Haikyuu. I love those kind of characters that are very bubbly. But when it comes to love, like romantic stories, oh my goodness. This word right here, this trope, I love it. I adore it. Oh my goodness gracious. It's so good. So this means a person comes across very stoic, very cool and unfeeling, so to speak, but ultimately has a very, very caring heart. And one of the first people that came to mind for this is the Black Lily in The Villainess's Guide to Not Falling in Love. This guy right here. The first time we met him, y'all, I was like, I love him. This is the character I'm shipping with our female lead. He's amazing. All he did is said one sentence, but I know that this guy deep down is super caring, and we see that unfold in this first volume. I gushed a lot about him in this first impression video, and it's not just him because, oh my goodness, Noah from Why Raeliana Was at the Duke's Mansion, he fits this so incredibly well as well. And also, I haven't read it, but Levi from Attack on Titan, he's one of my favorite characters, I feel like, or would be my favorite character, and I really like him, is because he fits this trope so well. Like, he comes across as really cool, very cold-hearted, but he's not. No, it's the same way, like, to everybody else. Yes, he may be really cold-hearted, but what we see when he's with Raeliana, getting so excited, I'm getting tongue-tied, but when he's with Raeliana, we see it. We see how loving he is of her, how, yes, I feel like he's possessive, but not in a unhealthy kind of way. Like, he looks out for her, he gets jealous at times, and I love it. I love it. The Black Lily is sort of the same way, though it takes a lot of things to happen before he realizes, but when he has that moment where this trope just comes to life, I was like, my heart is yours right now. When it comes to a reader and wanting your romantic story to unfold, I'm here for it, y'all. I'm here for it. I love it so much. It is honestly just one of the most satisfying things, and I found a list actually that was talking about like the top 10 characters from shoujo manga that live up to this, and they were saying Yamada from My Love Story, and I was like, yes, Yamada is another one where he just seems very aloof, that he doesn't have much to say, but we see him with Akane. We see how loving he is of her, and I love that. It is a trope I just can't get enough of. Just seeing these cold, stoic men just fall for these ladies, and it's like they just completely change. They don't. It's still them. It's still them. You know, it's the trope kind of thing. So I love it. I love the series. I think a large part of it because of that. And Noah's amazing. Reading volume, was it 7? Though I did reread some of volume 6, and I'm just like, Noah, you're absolutely amazing. Which we already knew this, but it was like reestablished again of how amazing he is. But I definitely felt like, yeah, the Black fact, literally, he was the first one that came to mind. I vividly remember me and my friend Danielle talking about it because she's like, yeah, I knew you were gonna like this character. I'm like, girl, you're right. You're right. You're right. And so for my honorable mention, I thought it was funny. It's not a new trope, but it sort of made me realize that when it comes to imakoi, now I'm in love, it hits a lot of my favorite tropes. We have what is sort of the delinquent and the good girl in this manga. Yeah, we don't have any childhood friends to lovers, unfortunately, but Yagu is sort of stoic. He is very aloof. He's just cool. He's just very cool overall. And they have that moment that I mentioned, you know, where they're on a date and Yagu is with her nephew slash cousin and sees how sodomy would be as a mom and them making that comment about one another. We see that. And I would say sort of like last but not least, we do see a little bit of power friendship vibes. So I feel like they're really subtle, but I feel like when it comes to the other tropes that I mentioned, I was like, imakoi definitely be hitting a lot of these. Also, I would say that I was talking about in a Discord is the Valentine's Day trope. I do love that because Sodomi can't cook for nothing, if I remember right, but she goes all out for Yagu. So maybe she can cook because what she made him was pretty like, whoa. So I do like that trope as well when like you see these female leads who are like either they can't cook or they're going to try to cook or they can and they just sort of lavishly give all of these really nice chocolate to, you know, their boyfriends. I really like that trope as well, and imakoi definitely has that. So those are all of my favorite tropes, or at least my top 5 favorite that I'm like, I love these, and it is a selling point for me, especially when it comes to the delinquent for sure. Also, that trope that I mentioned with the guys, that one as well, like, hello, give me more of them. But I would love to hear from you, friends. What are some of your favorite tropes? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!